morning. China, good morning to you and welcome to AFCON Express.
Good morning, Favor.
All right, China, I mean, today it's not about lamentations. I mean, Nigeria are through to the round of 16, getting a win against Tunisia, even though we survived a late scare. I mean, when you look at how the goals came in towards the end of the game. But I'd like to ask you, Nigeria secured a spot to the round of 16. Your assessment of the game, what does this mean for Nigeria, and particularly the late pressure and the Tunisia comeback that they tried to make, but of course did not succeed?
I mean, I've read lots of commentaries, especially on social media, about that game, and I just had one squad say, so I've heard over and over again, I've read over and over again, that Nigerian first half has been the best in a long time. People as far as back as 2 years before, I would say that's quite a stretch. But I think it's been quite some time I saw Nigeria play that well. I mean, that first half performance. But I'm worried about the abilities of the coach. Now, any Nigerian can name Mr. Bible starting lineup. I'm sure if you ask the Nigerians to name a lineup, they have some people get lineup right. So we cannot name lineup based on what we know about the players. But it's a good coach to manage that lineup, to send them information, right, to put them in shape, to make start changes. And that's why I'm a bit worried about the coach's abilities. We saw it against Zimbabwe in New York. The game we considered the last minute goal. If you remember, we saw it at the Africa playoffs, both games. Even when we won against Gabon, we saw it. We also saw it against the Congo. And his ability to manage games. And that this I talked about. I mean, for a long time, we have watched the game. We kept on talking about Bright Osai Samuel, how the Tunisians were using his wing to penetrate. We kept on talking about how the player of Wazobia was not falling back to support him. Now, these things, in the course of time, this game to get more difficult. Now we are through to the next round. The game is getting more difficult. We have just one error can cost you a lot of damage. So I'm worried about that. But in my own style, I would say we just won the game yesterday. We just won for the AFCON second round after we took the World Cup. I would rather celebrate the win than pick up point to criticize the coach, right? Because listen, we need to the World Cup. If you're the boys, especially the same as promised Nigerians that to compensate Nigeria, we're going to win the AFCON. I don't think we're going to win the AFCON, but we want to celebrate today's win. Yesterday's win, I'll celebrate it. So after we won, after we were able to hold back the Tunisians, and even though we went from a 3-0 to win the game 3-2, after we won the event, it's not about the points. So congrats to Nigeria and the boys did well yesterday.
All right, China Acheru, of course, congratulations. That's what has been going around in Nigeria, and of course, away from Nigeria about the performance. But let's also go to a man who is currently in Fez. Udoka Njoku joins us this morning. Udoka, good morning. Okay, we hope to have him join us. What is called China Acheru also, talked about the kind of performance we saw yesterday, and also the game management from Eric Chell, and he also highlighted the previous games we've had where we scored and then conceded again towards the end of the game. And I don't know, what do you make of this, and especially the substitutions from the coach? A lot of persons are saying Eric Chell have not been able to get his substitutions right. I mean, with coming with the introduction of Ejuke and Moses Simon, which should have probably added more offensively, but we found ourselves defending. Yeah,
that's the question I want to ask. What was Chell trying to do? Humiliate the Tunisians? Because you ask yourself, you are 3 goals up against Tunisia. I think at that point in time, like the Warri Pidgin English would say, you don't do that one. Drink water, make it digest. You understand? You should be drinking water so that 3 goes up and looking for more defensive-minded players, not offensive-minded players, not Moses Simon, not Ejuke, but a more defensive-minded player. 3 goals up against Tunisia, almighty Tunisia. You should be drinking water with that and not trying to score more goals against them. But the question is, was Eric Chell trying to humiliate Tunisia by trying to score more?
I think they want to do. Okay, let me go now to Udoka Njoku, who is closer to the team than we back home. Of course, Udoka Njoku joins us this morning. Udoka, good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you very much, Favor. A great morning to talk about the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
All right, Budoka, you're close to the team, and I probably want to believe that you've gotten a kind of idea of why Coach Erichel made those substitutions late into the game. Nigerians back home, a lot of them are asking, why does Erichel make substitutions that go most of the time almost cost Nigerians or even cost Nigeria the game? What was going through the mind of the coach Erichel, towards bringing in two offensive players when a lot of persons felt maybe defensive midfielder, like-for-like substitution for Frank and Oyedika and amongst others who probably would have gotten to help us, seal the game?
To be very honest with you, the same way you are wondering is the same way we were sitting at the media stand and we were all wondering what was going through Eric Shell's mind. When we saw Chidera Ejuke and Moses Simon, we were confused. All of us in attacking players. Why not bring in defensive players? Of course, I know that Zaidu Sanusi was chaotic in that game against Tanzania. But I believe that we should have brought in more defensive players than attacking players. Now, he had no reason taking off Frank Onyeka. He shouldn't have removed the Frank Onyeka. We had no reason bringing in Moses Simon, Chidera Ejuke in that particular game. All we needed to do was, yes, we were playing up, shore up the defense. We don't need to go again to score goals. I like the fact that Wale Scott mentioned that we're trying to humiliate the Tunisians. We've done enough already. Drink water, drop cup. We've gotten 3-0. Let's stick to that 3-0 win and move on to the next stage. But of course, Eric Shell, with his tilting and tinkering, they had to make some changes, and it almost cost us favor. When I saw those changes, all of the Nigerian journalists sitting beside me kept on screaming, "Why are you making these changes? Must you always go back to this 4-4-2 formation that you've been bent on using for the Super Eagles of Nigeria?" And if that game, like I told Mazino earlier during the breakfast show, if that game had continued for the extra 15 minutes, Tunisia would have gotten a goal and maybe gotten a 4-3 win over Nigeria. So we scaled through this one and we're moving on to the next one. But it was a risk that wasn't worth it at all.
All right, let me come to China, Acheru, before we go on a quick break. China, let's talk about the goalkeeping department. We saw a moment of scare. I mean, the first goal Nigeria conceded, Nwabali kind of caught napping, and then he conceded. Even towards the end of the game, there was a ball he tried to go out to catch, and somehow it slipped from his hand and almost resulted to a goal. Should we be worried and scared going forward that we've not still discovered or have a goalkeeper that we can have our trust and faith in? And Wale Scott, let's talk about the goalkeeping department. Stanley Nwabali.
It was a choice. For example, if you ask my opinion, okay, I've always preferred Maduka Okoye to Stanley, honestly, because I've always felt Stanley is kind of arrogant, and it doesn't translate his arrogance to his goalkeeping. It prefers to try and muscle and bully strikers of other teams. He feels that's enough. I don't think it's enough. It's only annoy a good striker more, and he will try to score off you. Now, Maduka Okoye did not come because he felt if Nwabali is not injured, he might not get a chance to participate in this tournament.
Is that even something a goalkeeper should be saying? When it's not a bet right. It's not your bet right. Honestly,
he plays for Udinese. He's the first choice goalkeeper. And he feels like if I come to the Nations Cup to go and sit on the bench, my spot might be taken by another goalkeeper. Sensible thing to have done. But now that Nigerians are complaining about Nwabali now, if Maduka Okoye was here, he probably might be playing in the next match. That's the truth. Now, somebody said, I think it's a rumor, should stay that way, that Nwabali is playing with an injury. If that's the issue, then Chell needs to be flogged. If it's true that Nwabali is playing with an injury at the Nations Cup finals, come on.
Okay, what is we will continue from here, and of course, Udoka Njoko is still with us. I want to go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be talking more on the Super Eagles of Nigeria, the goalkeeping department, topic for conversation at the moment, and of course, looking forward to more when it comes to the AFCON Express. We'll be right back. Thank you very much for staying with us. You're still watching AFCON Express on News Central TV. I'm Favor Itua. I've got Udoka Njoko in Fez, China Acheru from Port Harcourt, and of course Wale Scott right here in the studio. Before we went on the break, I was asking China about our goalkeeping department. I don't know, China, I know you're following the conversation at the moment. It's a topic for discussion. Nigerians are saying we still need to go and search for a worthy replacement. As after, of course, the likes of Vincent Eyama and maybe Kali Keme. Nwabali yesterday it was a moment of off and on for him. He almost considered another goal after the first goal. What do you make of him going forward? I mean, will it be a disturbance or like maybe a situation we need to fix going into other matches, of course, of the round of 16 up onto the finals if you get there?
You know that even if we get the best goalkeeper in the world to play for Nigeria, we're going to complain. Since Eyama and Kalikeme left the scene, we've tried Daniel Akpeyi and we're not satisfied. We tried Ikechukwu Ezenwa, not satisfied. We tried Francis Uzoho, terrible. We tried Maduka Okoye and we complained. So we have tried several goalkeepers. Then we suddenly discovered Stanley Wabali in South Africa, and he was almost the hero of the last AFCON and hero of our World Cup qualifying, even though we didn't qualify. Yes, he made mistakes, like people make mistakes. Now, I saw that game yesterday, and I saw the outrage. Now, the best goalkeepers make mistakes, and Stanley Wabali will make even more mistakes with Nigeria. And what I'm asking now we want to go back to Maduka Okoye. It doesn't really matter who we go back to. The thing is that Nigerians will complain regardless. We are complaining about coaches, we are complaining about our captain who retired, we are complaining about Victor Osimhen, we are complaining about everybody, and we'll always keep complaining. But do we prefer the goalkeeping situation now or how it was 2 years ago? I think eventually I prefer it now, but Wabali makes a few mistakes I want to go back to before. Listen, it's the coach's choice. I think Maduka Okoye shouldn't have pulled out of the team. But if he was in this team, he would have kept Wabali on his toes. But when Wabali looks behind him, he sees Amas Obasoge, he sees Francis Uzoho, and maybe he feels, listen, I'm the undisputed number one. So we should blame Maduka Okoye for not coming for the AFCON. But again, I still think that Wabali has what it takes to be our first choice keeper now. If in future after the AFCON, we find somebody else or we now at some point feel that Maduka Okoye being first choice at Udinese is better than the first choice at Chippa United, is the call of the coaches, and the coaches will pick those players. But Nigerians, not Nigerians, humans, football fans will complain about everything as long as it doesn't favor them at the point in time. For me, we won yesterday's game, we considered the goal, we considered 2 goals rather, doesn't really matter, we won the game. We are going to concede goals in the AFCON. We are going to make mistakes, from coaching mistakes to goalkeeping mistakes to defensive mistakes to team mistakes. We are going to make mistakes. We can't throw in the whole team. We have to pick what we have in front of us. And right now, Wabali is what we have in front of us because he's the only option right now. I guess we just have to use him.
All right, China, let me come to Doka now. Doka, I mean, the team have gotten the first task, which is getting the ticket to the round of 16. It means that we're still in the competition. What should we be, I mean, from what your conversations with the players, what should we be looking forward to in terms of the game against Uganda? Are we going to see fresh faces? Are we going to see a more rejig side? And, you know, looking at the players, you've also seen what should we be expecting in our next game against Uganda and also in the competition. A lot of persons are hoping that we'll top the group and remain in Fez instead of traveling around Morocco. And
yes, the first task is complete. Moving on to the next stage of the tournament. The second task is to finish top of Group C. And with that, we'll have one more game to play here in Fez, and that will have to do with Morocco's group. Now, going into the game against Uganda, yes, they are the whipping boys of the team. There's no chance for them to qualify because, I mean, if Nigeria needs to beat them to stay top of the group.
But look, there's still a chance for them to qualify. If they beat Nigeria, they have 4 points. That means they can qualify even second or even one of the best third-place teams.
So yes, I actually agree with you. But if Tanzania gets to defeat Tanzania, and rather if Tunisia gets to defeat Tanzania, it's over for Uganda. There's no conversation there. But of course, if there's any chance for a third place, yes, maybe Uganda would have a chance. But we saw the game against Tanzania. It wasn't so great. It ended 1-1 between both sides. But of course, for Super Eagles of Nigeria, I'd love to see a little bit of change in that one. Victor Osimhen has done the job. He received a knock in that game against Tunisia. So I'd rather he stays off that game. Let's see someone new. Let's see maybe a Cyril Dessers, a combination of Cyril Dessers and maybe a Paul Onuachu up front, or Cyril Dessers and Ako Adams. Let's see both players join up with the Super Eagles squad, and we'll see how they function from there. Then for Moses Simon, maybe he replaces Ademola Lookman. We need to stage of the tournament. We need to really rest them. for the next stage, because the next stage gets even tougher. So rest the likes of Ademola, Lookman, Victor Osimhen,
All right.
Frank Onyeka, or maybe Alexi Wobi, who was instrumental in that midfield. So we need to move on and bring in maybe the reserve to see how they play against Uganda. And to touch on the goalkeeper, Stanley Nwabali, who confessed that sometimes being a goalkeeper, you can be under a lot of pressure. He almost received the red card yesterday, favor, because of a tackle. If not for the whistle that had been blown before that tackle, Stanley Nwabali would have this game goodbye, maybe get up the game, and of course Francis Saul was already jogging to replace Stanley Nwabali. So we need to go deeper in our it work better. So we